from the News Channel 5 Network. This is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. Glad you're with us tonight. We are talking with a person who has made documentaries traveling all over the world, and he will be speaking at the Nashville Film Festival, which is going to be taking place this week. And so this is just a great chance to talk about the power of documentaries in our current culture, talk about some of the amazing work that he has done. Happy to bring in Fr3dR1ck Taylor, filmmaker. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So you've been all over the world.
Yes.
As we established, you're going to be speaking here at the film festival.
Yes.
We're going to show some of your work.
Oh, great.
Which will be great. But
yes.
Let's start from the very beginning. How would you describe your work, the essence of what you're trying to do with your films? For people who don't, know, what are you trying to do?
Sure. I'm trying to communicate in that way that we all want to communicate. That's wonderful and open and transparent. It's the casual conversation that you have with a neighbor or your mailman, and you're standing in line at the grocery store. You meet some interesting, fabulous person in an elevator, and there's an exchange of information or thought as well. Sometimes you're standing there, you're talking to someone, and they'll just give you a little kernel of wisdom that you just take with you. And you're like, wow, that's true. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to incorporate that into my life. That's what I'm trying to do as a filmmaker, and make a lot of these things that seem so daunting and uncomfortable on the surface a little bit more palatable, to be perfectly honest, because we do have to face up to these things that are in the world as well. Because we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to the people that were here before us, and we owe it to the people that are going to be here after us, because we get to live so well because people have done all of these things for us, and created all of these opportunities. So it's a little bit of a give back as well, and really trying to encourage people to, let's all play ball together here.
So how do you feel like we're doing? I mean, when you say help talk about things that are daunting, there are a lot of daunting things out there.
Completely.
And people don't read as much as they did, and maybe people kind of get stuck in their silos and don't even talk as much.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
how do you think it's going?
I'm going to say something kind of crazy. I think it's going pretty good, because there's a very high level of awareness now that wasn't necessarily there in the past, because now we all know we need to do something. Now the trick is, who are the people that know how to go out and do something versus the people that are still kind of, figuring it out a little bit, and they're a little bit confused. They need a little bit of help. They need a little bit of coaching. They need a little bit of encouragement as well. They want to say something. They want to do something. They want to do the right thing. They just don't know how. And some of us have been blessed with the opportunity to be very, very well socialized. And we're able to talk to people and interact with people, and we're really good at giving. And we've got to be able to continue to do that for others and kind of get them up to speed as well. And so we've got to be inclusive of all of these different, very unique and valuable cultural groups that we have here in, quote unquote, the greatest country in the world.
And so I was reading something that was sent about you. It says, as an artist, Fr3dR1ck strives to prove race and social status do not matter. So you strive to prove that in your work.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that? How do you do that?
Well, because once again, it's like race and social status don't matter. It's the content of character. It's who the person is. It's their ability to be able to contribute in their own unique way. Some of the best people I've ever met before are people that live out in rural areas. Occasionally you'll go out to a rural area and you'll meet someone, this person is just so incredibly warm and loving and fabulous and interesting, and they've lived in this rural area for generations, and they really know how to treat people. And they're so incredibly open. Or you'll meet somebody that lives in the inner city, and it'll be the little old lady that sweeps her doorstep every day. And she's the kindest, most genteel person you ever want to meet as well. Those people matter just as much as all of these people that run these Fortune 500 companies and drive the fancy cars, or they get to go into space for 35 seconds. Those people are great. I'm not knocking them, but they're not any better than these other people that are doing kind of the little things in life. It's sometimes, you go into a McDonald's or something, and the person behind the counter is just the nicest person in the world. They're so sweet, they're so kind, they're so thoughtful, they're doing whatever they can to help you. That person is just as good as anybody else. And that's what I mean by it doesn't matter We've got to really start to focus on who people are as individuals and stop making these sort of collective, sweeping, crass generalizations about people.
And amplify those voices that aren't often amplified.
Exactly, because they have a lot to say. You can get a lot out of people that have just lived a good long life.
It's great when you listen to people. And I guess film gives you a chance to listen to people. So often it's the same voices that we hear over and over. And it's good, you're right, to listen to people that you don't often get to hear.
Sure. And they don't have to be celebrities.
No, not at all. Pre-existing freedom, #BLM.
Yes.
So this is your latest documentary?
Yes, it is. It's a docu-short as well, and it's a part of an ecosystem of films that I'm making within this sort of consortium or constellation of pre-existing freedom, which is a construct that came out of the beginning days of the pandemic when everybody was talking about pre-existing conditions. And at the same time, we were talking about all of these freedoms, and it was just something that sort of merged together in my mind that, gosh, you know, do we have pre-existing freedom? We're supposed to. We were supposed to have inalienable rights. You know, all people are created equal, blah, 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 under the Constitution, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we should have a pre-existing freedom. And so that's been my search for the past 2 years, making specific films about it. So I made one that's called Pre-Existing Freedom. I made another one that's called Where is America? And then I made another one, it's called Pre-Existing Freedom, #BLM, because that just turned into a flashpoint. People just kept wanting to talk about BLM, or they did not want to talk about BLM. So I decided, you know, I'm going to throw all these things on the table and see where we land with this stuff as well.
#BLM, and that's Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely.
And so where do you think we are with that now? Yeah, it was talked about a lot. I don't know how much it's talked about now. Kind of, that's a tough topic sometimes. You know, where do you think we are?
I think we're still talking about it. You watch football on Sunday and a guy scores a touchdown at the end of the end zone. It says, like, end racism. And we're still talking about it. It's still there. We're super aware of it. Black people aren't going anywhere. We like black people. They're great. We enjoy them. They're awesome. They make a huge contribution to society as well. So this sort of mythology of, oh, we should not hear from them, that's absolutely ridiculous. You know, now people have their different channels for how they want to get their messages out, you know, and we may not necessarily always agree with them, but at the end of the day, it's a message that's saying that, hey, everybody belongs as well. But that, you know, Black Lives Matter sort of thought process is always still there. It's like you see it when you're looking at the latest Beyonce music video or whatever. There's a pride, there's a dignity that's there, and it's a cultural dignity. And it's a unique cultural dignity that comes from an existence of a people that have been in America for 500 years.
So it's been a tough time with the coronavirus.
Yes.
With George Floyd, with all of the social issues going on there.
Sure.
You sound somewhat optimistic. I mean, how tough was that on you? How does that come into your filmmaking? And are you optimistic?
I am optimistic because we can't go back. You know, there's no place to go but forward. And guess what? We're going forward together. There's no question about it. You know, the fastest growing cultural group in America is Asian Americans. Here they come. You know, they're knocking on the door as well. You know, there are more Latin Americans in America than there are African Americans as well. And at the end of the day, we're all mixed up. We all, you know what I mean? If anyone that's done their DNA, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. You know, I'm 14%, you know, Welsh and Scotch-Irish. I had no idea until 5 years ago, until I did my DNA. We all have something in us as well. I was doing some research on Little Richard, and he's part British. Perryman is his surname, and he comes from a legion of people that were a part of the monarchy in Great Britain that came to America and fought in the Revolutionary War. You know, so everybody calls him a queen all the time, but maybe he's a queen for all the right reasons, you know, that there's some royalty in there as well. And I think those things are really special. You know, we all have something in us. We all walk around and say, oh, I'm part Native American. We all say that, you know, but that's an easy one. You know, but we're all part of some other things, you know, as well. Before Muhammad Ali passed away in eastern Louisville, Kentucky, he became a naturalized citizen of Ireland because he's part Irish. Cassius Clay is a very Irish name, you know, and that's a part of his lineage and heritage as well.
And so the conflict that we've seen.
Sure.
What do we do with that? It's natural when this kind of change is happening.
Sure.
How do we address it? What are your thoughts on the conflict and those kind of difficulties that we've seen?
You know what it is? It's like being down by 10 in the fourth quarter, and everybody's huddling up, and it's like, what are we going to do? We're going to roll over and lose the game in the fourth quarter. We're down by 10. Or are we going to come together as a team and win this game? And that's where we are. And that's why I'm hopeful and very positive. It's just getting people to kind of huddle up and let's draw up a plan to go out there and win this game rather than lose this game. And I think those are some of the things that we need to think about. And actually, in the history of us as a people in America, we're really good at that. You know, when tragedy strikes, we rally. But we don't necessarily need to always be waiting for tragedy to strike anymore. You know, we don't need something at DEFCON 8 to happen for us to get it together. We need to be doing this on a day-to-day basis. And that's a big part of what my films are about. It's just showing people what's really going on and how we can face up to these problems.
Another film was Counter History's Rock Hills, right?
Exactly.
Tell us about that. And we'll see a trailer for that in a moment, but tell us about what that is.
Counter History's Rock Hill is about a counter sit-in 1961 in Rock Hill, South Carolina, about 9 young men who have the courage to stand up to an unfair system. In 1961, if you were African American and you walked into a diner and you sat down and you said, hey, can I have a cup of coffee, you got arrested, which is insane to us now. We can't even imagine that world, but that world existed, and there are many people still alive today that remember that world. And they had counter problems and counter sit-ins right here in Nashville as well. Famously, John Lewis, one of the reasons there's a street named after him is because of those counter sit-ins as well. And so the film, you can see it on Amazon as well. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's Counter History's Rock Hill. It's been shown all over the world. It's been shown at the Cannes Film Festival. It's won numerous awards as well, and it really gives you some insight into what it means to be a part of the solution and be a part of peaceful protest, and for people of different cultures coming together to solve a problem. And I had the pleasure of meeting some of these men that had been there in 1961, interviewed them before they had passed away, and then we did a bunch of recreations with some young actors to portray them so we could take you back to that space and that time as well. So the film transports you back to Rock Hill, South Carolina, so you feel like you're a part of it. So it's something very unique too. It's kind of a docudrama as well, which is something I've gotten really excited about. That documentary film is great for truth telling, but we still like some cinema in it. We like some flash, we like some caress, we like to feel good, we love the movies. And so you got to give people a little bit of movie in there as well, because you got to keep their attention, and you got to keep the young people's attention as much as the older people.
And yeah, like I said, I saw Pre-Existing Freedom, #BLM. It definitely kept my attention. It was really good.
Yes.
And it just moves right along. All right, we're going to take a break. And if you're on the line, hold on. If you want to call in, there's a number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We will come back and we'll show a clip from one of these documentaries. We'll be back right after this.